Chloe, my wife, my everything, was slipping away. Then, I heard it. Her voice. The words that shattered me. I wish he'd just disappear. She wasn't just unhappy, she was lying. And now, I had to know how deep the betrayal went. The moment the wedding ring slipped into her hand, I realized I was already losing her. Chloe had always been the one. From the first day I met her, smart, beautiful, confident, with a laugh that could light up any room, she was the woman I couldn't help but want. And somehow, I got her. Or at least, I thought I did. But now, as I stood in our shared apartment, watching her pick up her phone for what must have been the 1,000th time in the last few weeks, I had a sickening gut feeling that maybe the woman I married was slipping right through my fingers. I thought about our wedding, our beautiful vows exchanged in front of friends and family. At the time, everything felt perfect, like we had a lifetime ahead of us. But life, as it tends to, started to show cracks almost immediately after we got back from our honeymoon. It wasn't that I wasn't working hard. I worked long hours at the law firm, we had a small but comfortable place in the city, and we even started saving for a family. But there was something in the air, something Chloe wasn't telling me. And my instincts screamed at me that the cracks were deepening. And then came the day I came home early. I had planned a special evening for us, a surprise, just to remind her how much she meant to me. I thought we could recapture the joy, the laughter we had on our honeymoon. What better way to brighten her day than by walking in with flowers and dinner from her favorite place? But instead of seeing her face light up, I overheard something that would change everything. I walked in, the front door creaking as I entered. At first, everything seemed normal except the soft voices I heard in the living room. Then, my heart dropped. I honestly don't know how much longer I can do this. He's great, but I'm suffocating, Chloe's voice came through clear and sharp. I froze. The words hit me like a ton of bricks. She wasn't speaking to me. She was speaking to her best friend, Mia. There was more. Sometimes I wish he'd just disappear for a bit. I can't handle this forever. If it wasn't for his family's money, I swear I'd be out of here. The room went dead silent. Time seemed to stretch out, each word piercing deeper than the last. I could feel my pulse in my temples. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I simply stood there, numb, trying to process what was happening. Chloe was talking about me. And not in the way I had ever expected. My instincts had been right. Something was wrong. But this? The betrayal. I wanted to scream. To confront her then and there. But I knew better. A part of me knew that if I revealed myself now, I wouldn't just be confronting her, I'd be exposing all the things I couldn't bear to hear. But the thing was, everything made sense in that moment. The late nights at work. The unexplained trips to the spa with her friends. The new clothes and jewelry she'd treated herself to but never told me about. The sudden coldness between us. It wasn't just that she was unhappy, it was that she had been hiding something from me. Someone, perhaps. I wanted to know who. And I would find out. I stepped back silently, retreating to the hallway and out the door, leaving my surprise gift behind. But the sick feeling in my stomach didn't leave. For the next hour, I sat in my car, replaying every detail of our marriage that now felt like a carefully constructed lie. The laughs, the vacations, the quiet dinners that we used to share. Had any of it been real? Or was I just another pawn in her game of appearances? I had no answers. Only the cold certainty that things would never be the same again. As I sat there, the weight of betrayal closing in around me, my phone buzzed. It was Chloe. Her text was short, almost innocent. Hey babe, I'm just finishing up with Mia. Be home soon, okay? Be home soon? I wanted to text back, to tell her everything, to tell her I knew. But I couldn't. Not yet. That night, I called in sick at work. I wasn't in the mood for lawyering. I was in the mood for revenge. The kind of revenge I never thought I'd want, but now couldn't stop craving. I needed answers. I needed to feel in control of my life again. And I needed to make sure she understood what it felt like to lose everything she held dear. The next few days would be a game. A quiet, methodical game. And I would play it better than anyone. As Chloe walked in that evening, her face bright with the fake cheerfulness she tried so hard to maintain, I looked at her, at the woman I once loved, and knew one thing for certain. She was going to regret everything. The next few days passed like a slow, suffocating fog. Chloe was oblivious, pretending that everything was fine, sending me texts and leaving voice messages asking if I was mad or upset about something. I'd text her back with half-hearted responses. No, I'm fine, just tired. But behind the words, I was anything but fine. Every message felt like another lie I had to pretend to believe. Meanwhile, I went to work, saw my colleagues, and smiled like a well-adjusted adult. I was a professional, after all, and no one needed to know what I was dealing with. My mind kept returning to that moment, to the image of her in that living room, her voice dripping with disdain. She had made her decision. But so had I. I just hadn't figured out how to make her pay for it yet. By Thursday, my plan had started to take shape. I was going to do something so calculated, so cold, that it would get me the answers I wanted, and more importantly, make her understand that I wasn't someone she could walk all over. I needed leverage, and I knew exactly where to get it. It was a normal morning when I started the conversation. Chloe had just come home after a late-night work event, no surprise there. She was still in her heels, clutching her purse, her face flushed from the alcohol I could smell faintly on her breath. "You know," I said, watching her fumble with her keys in the doorway, "I was thinking about what you said. About feeling trapped." She froze for a moment, her hand still on the doorknob. "What do you mean?" I shrugged, casually walking over to the kitchen and grabbing a bottle of water. "About us, I mean. I get it now. You're just tired, right?" She blinked, a brief flicker of confusion in her eyes. "Tired? Of what?" I leaned against the counter, keeping my expression neutral. "Of being stuck. Of being in this marriage. I guess I can understand why you'd want more." Chloe gave a small laugh, shaking her head like I was being silly. "Come on, you know I didn't mean it like that. Didn't you?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "You told me exactly how you felt. You said that you regret marrying me, that you felt suffocated. You said if it wasn't for the money, you'd already be gone." Her face went pale, and she dropped her purse on the table. What? How do I know?" I interrupted. "I heard it. I heard everything." There was silence. A long, unbearable stretch where she couldn't meet my eyes. Then, slowly, she took a deep breath. "It wasn't like that, I was just venting, and Mia doesn't. Mia doesn't know how I've been working my ass off for years to make this marriage work while you're out there living some fantasy with your perfect little friends." I spat, walking closer to her. "I heard everything, Chloe. I heard you tell her that you wish I'd disappear, that you didn't care about the vows we took. That I'm just some placeholder. Some convenient guy with money." She looked like she was about to speak but choked on the words. She swallowed hard, tears filling her eyes. "You don't understand. I've just been so lonely, and you've been so distant. I thought I could find someone who understood me, someone who what?" I cut in. "Who makes you feel like you're not trapped? Because that's what you've done, Chloe. You've replaced me. I wasn't enough, was I? So, what is it? This person you've been with, he's the one who gives you everything I couldn't?" She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. I didn't give her a chance to speak. "You've been pretending, Chloe. Pretending everything is fine. Pretending you're still the woman I married. But you've been lying to me, haven't you? And now I want to know who he is. I want to know what he's got that I don't. And I want to know how long this has been going on. I deserve that much." Her face twisted into something between panic and rage. She was losing control, and it felt damn good. For once, I had the upper hand. "I don't know what you're talking about," she snapped. "There's no one else, okay? I don't know what happened to us." I took a step forward, my voice dropping lower. "You don't know what happened to us?" I let the words sink in. "You ruined us, Chloe. You decided that someone else was better, and now you think you can pretend everything is fine. But I'm done with pretending. I need answers, and I'll do whatever it takes to get them." Chloe stood there, silent, her breathing shallow. I saw the shame in her eyes, the kind of shame you can't hide, even with tears. She knew she had lost me. And deep down, she knew she had lost the game. But I wasn't finished yet. I needed to know how far this had gone. I needed the truth, even if it shattered everything I thought I knew. The days that followed felt like I was walking on a tightrope. Chloe was desperate to smooth things over, to act like nothing had happened, but I couldn't forget the things I'd heard. I couldn't ignore the bitter taste of betrayal that lingered in my mouth. Every smile she gave, every touch she offered, felt like a performance. And I hated myself for allowing it to continue. She kept apologizing, soft, remorseful words that never quite reached her eyes. She begged for forgiveness, but her apologies felt empty, like a script she'd rehearsed for just this occasion. I couldn't take it anymore. The more she tried to make things right, the more I saw through her. I wanted to scream. I wanted to demand answers, to rip the truth from her, but I knew the best way to get what I needed wasn't through anger. It was through silence. I played the game with precision. I pulled back. I stopped texting her as much, stopped asking how her day went, stopped pretending like I didn't know what she'd done. And with every day that passed, the silence between us grew thicker, heavier. It ate at her, and I could see it every time she looked at me. The guilt was written all over her face. She knew I knew. And she was losing control. The tipping point came one night when she finally broke. I was sitting in the living room, flipping through a book, trying to distract myself from the storm of emotions that had been building inside me. Chloe walked in quietly, her footsteps soft on the hardwood floor. She stood there for a moment, hesitating, before she spoke. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't look up. I knew what this was, another empty apology, another round of fake remorse. But something in her voice made me pause. This wasn't like the other times. There was an edge to it now, something raw, something desperate. "I'm sorry I hurt you," she continued, her voice shaking. "I've been so lost. I don't know what happened. I didn't mean for any of this to happen." I still didn't look at her. I kept my eyes on the page, pretending to read. But inside, something twisted. "You don't get to say you didn't mean it," I finally spoke, my voice low. "You don't get to pretend like you didn't make a choice. You didn't accidentally fall into this, Chloe. You chose this. And now, you want me to just forget it?" She was silent for a long time, and I felt the weight of her gaze on me, but I refused to acknowledge it. I wasn't going to make it easy for her. Not this time. "Please, Mike, I never wanted to hurt you," she said, her voice cracking. "I made a mistake. I know that. But I'm trying to fix it. I'm trying to make it right." I let the silence stretch, letting her words hang in the air like a suffocating fog. "What if I can't forgive you?" I asked finally, looking up at her, my voice cutting through the quiet. "What if I can't look at you the same way again? What then?" She took a step closer, her eyes pleading with me, but I didn't move. I wasn't going to make it easy for her. "Please don't say that. Please don't do this," she whispered. "I love you. I've always loved you. And I hate myself for what I did." I stood up then, walking toward her, my anger and confusion mixing into something cold. "You love me?" I asked, the words tasting like acid in my mouth. "You love me and you go behind my back with another man? How does that make sense, Chloe?" The hurt in her eyes was palpable, but I didn't feel sympathy. "Not anymore. I don't know. I was stupid. I thought I was missing something, that I needed something more. But I realize now that I don't. I just need you." I stared at her, disbelief flooding my senses. She had broken me, broken everything we had, and now she was trying to put the pieces back together like they were never shattered. It was too late. The damage was done. But even as I stood there, so furious I could barely breathe, part of me still wondered, was she telling the truth? Could she really be sorry? And then I remembered. I remembered the words I had heard, the mocking tone, the laughter. And in that moment, I knew. This wasn't about forgiveness. It was about something deeper. Something darker. Something that I would never be able to ignore again. "I think we need some time apart," I said, the words coming out before I had fully processed them. Her eyes widened in panic, her voice rising. "What? Mike, no, please, we can work this out. Please, don't leave me." I felt the finality of the words settle over me like a heavy weight. "I'm not leaving you, Chloe. I'm giving you what you asked for. Time to think. Time to figure out what you really want." It wasn't until I turned to walk out the door, her desperate pleas echoing in my ears, that I realized something I hadn't expected. I didn't feel anything anymore. I didn't feel anger, or sadness, or even betrayal. I felt nothing. And that scared me more than anything else. Because if I didn't feel anything at all, how was I supposed to move forward? The silence that followed was almost unbearable. Chloe hadn't left. She stayed in the apartment, pacing, texting, calling. Her apologies were endless, but I couldn't bring myself to respond to any of them. Each word felt like it was dipped in poison, meant to lull me back into the comfort of a lie. So I stayed away. I spent more time at the office, stretched out my hours, told myself I was doing it for my career when the truth was, I couldn't stand to be in the same space as her. At first, it was easy. She tried to reach me, but I had already begun to shut her out. I ignored her texts and her calls, pretending I didn't care. But the truth? The truth was far more complicated. I told myself I'd reached a point where nothing would faze me anymore. That the hurt she'd caused would fade, and I'd eventually get over it. But as the days wore on, I realized how wrong I was. Each moment of silence knotted me, making me feel like I was drowning in my own confusion. I wanted revenge, sure. I wanted to expose her, to hurt her the way she'd hurt me. But there was a part of me that wasn't sure if I was doing it because she deserved it, or because I was still clinging to the idea of us clinging to what we once were. But I couldn't give in. Not again. I wouldn't. I thought about all the things I'd overlooked in the past, the small cracks that had slowly widened into this chasm between us. And in the midst of all that, I made a decision. If I was going to get through this, if I was going to get my life back, I had to take control. No more lies. No more pretending. And no more letting her believe she could just walk back into my life after everything. I wasn't going to be the fool anymore. The moment came on a rainy Thursday evening. I had just finished a meeting with a new client, feeling more in control of my life than I had in weeks, when my phone buzzed. It was a message from Chloe. She had sent it hours ago, but I hadn't checked it. "Mike, please. Can we talk? I need to see you. I need to explain everything. I love you. I'd made a huge mistake. I'm begging you to listen to me." I sat there for a moment, staring at the screen, my hand frozen above the keys. There it was again, another apology, another plea. She sounded so sincere, so desperate. But what if it was all part of her game? What if she was trying to manipulate me again? I deleted the message without responding. Then I tossed the phone on the passenger seat of my car, turned the key in the ignition, and drove off. The next few days were filled with distractions, work, random outings, late nights, anything to keep me from thinking about Chloe. But she wasn't giving up. Every morning, I'd wake up to texts, sometimes dozens. "I love you, Mike. I'm sorry. Please, I need to fix this. I can't live without you." But it was too late. The damage was done. And then, the phone call came. It was Friday night when I saw her name flash across the screen. This time, I picked up. "Mike." Chloe's voice was softer now, less frantic, almost vulnerable. "I'm done running. I know what I did, and I'm ready to face it. I'm sorry for everything. I really am. But I need you to understand. I didn't want to hurt you. I was lost, and I thought I needed someone else to make me feel complete. But I was wrong. Please, just let me show you." I could hear the sincerity in her voice, but it wasn't enough. The feelings of anger and betrayal were still there, buried deep inside, and they wouldn't go away no matter how much she apologized. "Chloe," I said, my voice steady, cold. "I don't think you realize what you've done. You didn't just hurt me, you destroyed us. And I can't just forget that. Not now, not ever." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. I could almost feel her breaking, and for a split second, I felt bad. I shouldn't have felt bad, though. She made her choice. "I've tried everything, Mike," she whispered, almost pleading. "But nothing's enough, is it? Nothing I say will change the fact that I hurt you." I looked out the window, watching the rain hit the glass. I couldn't see her, but I knew exactly what she looked like, the tears in her eyes, the trembling hands, the raw emotion on her face. The same face I'd once loved so deeply. But I wasn't that person anymore. "I need you to leave," I said, the words coming out with a finality that left no room for argument. "We can't do this anymore, Chloe. You need to pack your things and go." Her breath caught. For a moment, I thought she might argue. But instead, she simply said, "Okay." It was a whisper, barely audible. "I hope you find what you're looking for," I added, swallowing the lump in my throat. And with that, I hung up. The next few hours were a blur of quiet preparation. Chloe moved her things out, packing her clothes, her books, the small remnants of the life we'd shared. I sat in the living room, staring at the walls, at the silence that now filled the apartment. It felt empty, as though I'd lost something I couldn't get back. I thought I'd feel relief. I thought it would be easier once the decision was made. But as the door clicked shut behind her, I realized one thing. The battle wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Because now, I needed answers. The ones Chloe wasn't ready to give. And I would do whatever it took to find them. I woke up the next morning to the sound of silence. It was the kind of silence that settles in when everything you thought you knew about your life has been turned upside down. Chloe was gone. Her clothes were gone. Her things, their presence, had been erased from the apartment like a bad dream. And yet, somehow, I still couldn't shake the feeling that there was more. Much more. I sat on the couch for hours, my mind running a mile a minute. What had I been missing? What had I overlooked in all the chaos of betrayal? And then it hit me. I'd been so caught up in the pain of it all, in the rage and the hurt, that I hadn't stopped to ask the one question that would answer everything. Who was he? The man she had run to. The one who had taken her away from me. And why had she done it? I had to know. Not for closure, not for her. But for me. To finally get the answers I deserved. That afternoon, I called in a favor. A private investigator. The guy was discreet, smart, and relentless, everything I needed. I didn't give him much information, just a name. A starting point. I didn't need the whole story, just the key details. And then, I waited. A few days later, I got the call. The investigator had found something. Something I didn't expect. Mike, I've got the guy. I found his name, his address. He's a colleague of Chloe's. Works in her department at the firm. But that's not all, there's more to the story. I felt my heart skip a beat. What do you mean, more? Mike, he's been living with her. 4 months now. This wasn't just some affair. This was something else. They've been in a full-blown relationship for at least a year. And, get this, he's been a part of her life longer than you know. He was even at your wedding. I stood there, frozen. My mind couldn't catch up to the information. I wanted to feel angry, but all I felt was numb. I felt betrayed in a way I couldn't even describe. Chloe had kept this secret from me, hidden it in plain sight, and I had walked around, clueless, believing everything was fine. Are you sure? I finally asked, my voice barely audible. Absolutely, the investigator said. I've got photos, texts, everything you need. This wasn't a mistake, Mike. This was deliberate. I hung up the phone, the weight of the truth crushing me. I had to see it for myself. I had to face the reality Chloe had been hiding from me. I drove to the address the investigator had given me, not knowing what I'd find. All I could think about was how this man had been living my life, wearing my shoes, walking in my place. How long had they been laughing at me behind my back? When I reached the house, I stayed in my car for a few minutes, just staring at the building. I could feel the bile rise in my throat. This wasn't just some petty betrayal anymore. This was my life. I walked to the door, knocking softly, my hand shaking. When the door opened, I saw him. The man who had taken everything from me. He was younger than me, taller, more polished, more charming. He looked at me with a casual smile, as if he didn't know who I was. As if everything was normal. Can I help you? He asked, his voice too calm, too confident. I looked at him, fighting the urge to throw a punch. I'm Mike, I said quietly. Chloe's husband. His smile faltered, just for a second. But it was enough. You're her husband, he said, almost as if it were an afterthought. Well, I suppose this was bound to happen eventually. I felt a strange mix of disbelief and anger so raw, so violent, that I didn't know what I wanted from him. An apology? A confession? But there was no satisfaction in any of it. No catharsis. No justice. Why did you do it? I asked. The words felt hollow, like I was speaking from a place far away. He shrugged, like it was nothing. She wanted me. And, well, I wanted her too. What's so complicated about that? I couldn't even bring myself to answer. The finality of it all hit me like a freight train. Chloe had made her choice, and now, so had I. I turned to leave. But before I could, the man stepped in front of me, blocking my path. You know, he said, his voice suddenly colder, Chloe and I are happier now. She's exactly where she belongs. You weren't enough for her. You were always too distant, too focused on your career. But me? I get her. It was the final straw. You think you understand her? I asked, my voice dangerously low. You think you know what she needs? You don't. You're just a replacement. A placeholder until she gets bored of you. Just like she did with me. For a moment, the smirk on his face wavered. He took a step back, then quickly recovered. I'm not the one who has to answer to her, Mike. That's on you now. Without another word, I pushed past him, walking back to my car. The air felt thicker with every step I took. I had one. I had the answers. But none of it mattered. The truth was, the damage had already been done. Chloe had destroyed everything I had built, and no matter how much I wanted to tear her world apart, the real damage was already in my past. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need her. I just needed to move on. I never saw Chloe again after that day. She tried to call, tried to apologize, but it was too late. I had already let go. I spent the next few months rebuilding, focusing on myself, on what I wanted, on what I needed. And slowly, I learned that the best revenge wasn't tearing her down. It was moving forward. It was realizing that no matter what happened, I was still standing. I was still breathing. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't afraid anymore.